Yeah, I have an awesome guest that I want to introduce today. He's a great friend of mine. I've known him for, more than 10 years, brother. And this is one of the guys that has helped me get out of the 9-to-5 rat race. And the reason why I have him on here is because I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I want to talk about homeownership. I want to talk about mindset. I think that's important for entrepreneurs. And yeah, man, I just want the audience to get to know you. So in a brief summary, can you tell the people who you are and what you're into?
For sure. So my name is Devyn Lado. I am an entrepreneur. My company is called Garment Decor. We do screen printing and embroidery. So we make custom merchandise for brands and businesses. If you're a brand and you're looking to start your own clothing line, or if you're a business and you're looking to wear company uniforms, those types of customers, those types of people come to my business to make that merchandise. I've been in business for about 14 years. I started it with my twin brother, Adrian, in our mom's garage. And through the trials and tribulations of starting a business, here we are 14 years later, still growing and still working every day by day on our business. And so that's a little about me. And now I'm here with Jesse, my best friend outside of business, outside of work. We've known each other for about 14 years now, I would say, 13 years now. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man, that's great. I want to start from there. I want to start with the 14-year journey for Garment Decor, because I want to highlight how you got started. And, you know, my intentions of this podcast is to help bring game to potential home buyers, to potential home sellers where they're maybe stuck and they've maybe reached an income cap. Yeah, man, you've actually helped me create my own business within itself. So let's start from the beginning. You started Garment Decor out of a garage, right?
Yeah, so I've told the story a million times. This would be 1,000,001 times that I tell this story. So basically how it got started was me and my twin brother, Adrian. We had just graduated high school. And like a lot of our friends, everybody wanted to go the college route.
Yeah.
And so we thought that was our plan. So we both initially went to community college and signed up to take real estate classes. Did you know that?
You're kidding.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we had taken the classes to become a real estate agent. But during that time, we also started a clothing store where we would buy and sell T-shirts from downtown Los Angeles. And we opened up a swap meet where we would sell T-shirts to our friends. So we thought, man, how cool would it be if we could buy and sell T-shirts. We could look fresh each day. At the time in high school, we really weren't the swaggiest of people. So the idea of like starting up a clothing store and buying and selling clothes was a cool idea, because it would be our chance to get new T-shirts, new fits, so on and so forth. So we opened up a swap meet in Pomona, California, where we were buying and selling T-shirts. But after about 6 months, that really wasn't doing too well. We were barely making rent each month. And somebody came in and said, hey, I don't want to buy T-shirts, but can you make me 50?
Oh, you're kidding.
And that was the only way we were going to make rent that month. So we said, crap. Yeah, we can make you 50 T-shirts. So we went on Craigslist, bought the machine. We went on YouTube and learned how to do it. And we collected the 50% deposit from that guy. And what we made in that one order was more than we made all month at the T-shirt shop. So we said, if we can get one order, why can't we get two? And if we can get two orders, why can't we get three? And that was 14 years ago. And now we're thousands and thousands of orders deep with the same philosophy, just chipping away one order at a time, growing our business. And so that's how we got started. It was in a mom's garage. It was the clothing store, but then we had moved into our mom's garage and started screen printing and embroidery.
Okay, I see the kickoff to Garment Decor, and I see how that happened, but I want to backtrack a little bit, because you had business ventures going, but they didn't really pan out. You had the real estate agent going, but you didn't continue it. You had, I think it was Closet Collection, the clothing brand that you were trying to create, and it didn't go off, but Garment Decor went off.
For sure.
So you were going after 3 business ventures.
There was a fourth in there. We were doing photography and videography services. So we were going to events and promoting our services to do like photo shoots of like people wedding photo shoots. We would go to nightclubs and take photos of people there. And so we were trying to offer also photography and videography services, trying to see which lane would essentially take off for us.
And when you were going after the 4, how much time were you and your brother working on a weekly basis? You guys weren't working 40 hours a week, right? You guys were putting in time?
So when you say working, like a traditional job? Oh, what do you mean by working?
No, just I don't imagine you guys had a traditional job. This was how you guys were making a living, right?
Correct.
Off of these 4?
Correct.
You guys were trying to make it off of these 4.
Correct. So basically, we were following the money. Okay. So we were promoting our different services. We were going to the t-shirt shop each day. We were promoting our photography and videography services, and we were just essentially following the money. So if somebody needed photography services, that's what we were doing that weekend. If nobody needed the photography services, we were going to the shop and trying to sell t-shirts. And so it was follow the money, and that was the course that we were on at that time.
So out of the 4, which one would you say was probably the one that you wanted to happen? Like this was your passion project and this was what you saw doing for the rest of your life?
I think if we could have chose at the time, it would have been the photography and the videography services.
Wow.
But we found that most people, that was the lowest paying out of any venture that we've ever done.
Probably the most time consuming too, right?
It was
because you actually physically have to be the one recording and filming and things like that.
Yeah, so doing a video, anybody who's ever shot and edited a video knows just how grueling that editing process is. And so sometimes if you're very detail oriented, you know that it could take 20 hours to edit a video, but finding a customer that is willing to pay for 20 hours worth of time, sometimes I felt like just working at a fast food restaurant would have been more profitable than editing a video and trying to get that customer to pay really what that time was worth. And the reality was we just never could find high-paying customers for that type of work. But it was definitely the biggest passion project for us.
So not being able to find these high-ticket customers and you were trying to make all 4 happen, what kept you going to not just give up and say, hey, I'm going to just go work at Jack in the Box. I'm going to go work at a retail store, because that's what a lot of people give into. That's what I gave into when I first started my career in high school. My working career, I started selling shoes in high school, and I went the retail route. So the mindset and the discipline, how did you stay on track with the 4 passion projects?
I applied to Buffalo Wild Wings because about like 6 months after like the shop wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
It was like money wasn't coming in. And so I applied to Buffalo. The idea was that I would go apply for Buffalo Wild Wings. I would work the job. I'll bring the money in and I would pay for the shop to continue running. But it was at the time of me applying for Buffalo Wild Wings, I got denied. So that idea never came to fruition.
That was a blessing.
Yeah, it was a blessing. But also at the same time was right around the time where the customer came in and said, hey, I don't want to buy a t-shirt, but can you make me 50?
You're kidding.
So it was probably within a week of me applying for Buffalo Wild Wings and that customer coming in that the course of the trajectory of life took a different turn.
How insane, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. One deal can change the trajectory of your life. That's so crazy, man.
I think it created an opportunity, right? So we're at that time, I think 18, 19, we're not even understanding, or we're not even seeing that there's an opportunity in making in manufacturing t-shirts. We're thinking at the time that the way to make money is to buy and sell t-shirts with designs already on them, right? So by putting ourselves in that position, it in a sense created another opportunity, which was creating t-shirts for other people. So that was pretty cool.
So let's talk about Garment Decor.
Yeah.
Garment Decor was created out of a garage, right?
Correct.
And now fast forwarding to today, you guys own a very large warehouse in Montclair, and you offer services to the public and some accounts that you take care of. Who do you service? Like, who's a big account that you've taken care of?
So I think one of the biggest names that the first name that comes to my mind is the Big Baller brand that we used to do back in this was a couple of years ago, but I bring it up because at the time it was a big deal for us.
Sure.
It was 2017, Big Baller brand came to us to make the brand, and this was at the peak of their hype. But other big brands, Google, Amazon, Netflix. We've worked with many Fortune 500 companies, but also small mom and pop shops in our local community. So it's the blend of both big and small that help us stay in business.
So there's a really big trajectory that happened within the last 14 years of Garment Decor starting. There was you working out of a garage with maybe your twin brother and, a handful of tools where you guys were actually doing the labor, to now Garment Decor being a very large, successful business, and you guys having space for multiple machineries. Maybe you guys have 10, 20, 30 employees under you that are helping you create the business. I want to talk about that. I want to get into the actual understanding of the mindset and the discipline of a person that has to really manifest the trajectory of the business going up. And I'm sure there was mistakes that happened.
For sure.
That held you guys back. But when you look at it, looking from the outside in, it's crazy. It's crazy to see your guys' growth. And what really attracted me when I first met you was sort of the mindset, the discipline. I saw the entrepreneurship bulb on top of you. That I've been luckily I've met a couple of people that have that, and it's a rare skill to have. It's not something that comes easy, and it's only people that are willing to put in the work. So starting from the beginning of going in the garage, what was it that took you guys from the garage into maybe your guys' first warehouse space or shop?
What I always tell people is that I think the biggest blessing was the ability to start earlier.
Right.
When you're fresh out of high school, you rid yourself of any debts, responsibilities that come along when you grow up. So at 19, there was no house payment. There was no big
student loans,
right? So basically we had the blessing that we had at 18 and 19 is that we had nothing but time.
Right.
And that we basically decided that, hey, if our friends were going to college and going to study for 8 to 10 to 12 hours, the least that we can do is spend at a minimum 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day on our business.
Right.
And running a business, there's multiple components. There's learning how to market yourself. It's learning how to build a website. It's learning how to create a Facebook page and growing a Facebook page, right? So it was spending 8 to 12 hours each day, just like how our friends were doing in college, but just applying it toward running a business. So I think the first thing that I always say is start as early as possible, right? Before life hits you like a train. Right. And so even I'm 32 now, I ask myself, could I start now at 32? And I find that it would be a lot more difficult for me to drop everything and take on this new idea at age 32, because now there's a house payment, right? You have a car payment. You have you want to go out on the weekends, you want to buy nice clothes, so on and so forth. So what we did at 18 or 19 might not be so possible for us at 32 now, but maybe for the audience, right? Dropping everything and starting an idea sounds like an impossible task.
Sure.
So I think looking back, start as young and early as possible before life hits you like a train.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a compounding factor with time that happens, because this didn't happen overnight. This happened over the past 14 years.
For sure.
And just little by little, you were able to grow it to a big business that it is now. When you first started, what were some of the losses that you guys took that you could remember of that really held you guys back?
Well, so going back to the shop, the other thing that we learned is that understanding that when something isn't working out, it's okay to say it's not working out,
right,
and pivot,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one of the most difficult things was we had opened up this t-shirt shop and we had told all of our friends we were promoting ourselves, right? And to our circle of influence, our friends, family, everybody thought it was so cool that we had started this shop, but little did they realize that we weren't making any money, right?
Right.
So it's sort of embarrassing, right? To 6 months later say, hey, this isn't working out. This isn't going the way I thought it would. And now that we're in business and we work with different business owners, I can see from my customers that sometimes they do things that isn't working out, but they carry on that load they carry on the business for too long when it's not making money. They try new things and they do things in a business that isn't working out. So one of the biggest lessons that that we've learned is that when something isn't working out, it's okay to stop and pivot.
Nice.
And so
that's good advice.
So looking back, it was saying, hey, this shop isn't working out. Let's close it down.
Right.
And pivot.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest losses that we took, there's always losses.
Always.
Well, we had the opportunity to start a business at a young age. We also didn't have formal education. So some of the skill sets that you learn in college, my brother and I didn't have. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, constructing a professional email, how to write a professional email and how to sound intelligent, how to articulate yourself. And so those were some of the skill set. That was one skill set we didn't learn in college that affected our ability to land big deals as a small business owner. So while it's not necessarily a loss, if you aren't taking the traditional route of going to college, you still need to invest into time into bettering yourself. Yeah. And that is bettering your English skills, right? Learning how to be more professional. So that would be, while it's not a loss, maybe a lesson that...
Sure. It's sort of a holdup.
A holdup, correct.
Yeah.
That's
and increasing the speed of how quickly you can grow the business.
For sure.
You know? Yeah, man, everything you're saying is along the lines of just an entrepreneur trying to make it happen and trying to create, I guess, what they're set out to be.
For sure.
And I think what you're doing now is what you were set out to be.
For sure.
And I'm really happy that you're able to find that early in your life. And I think what I'm doing now, it took me some time to figure out what I wanted to do, but always when I first met you back in 2012 to 2014, I was like, man, I want to be a business owner like these guys. But I had no idea what I wanted to get into. And so I went through my own business ventures and I started run-it-wear. I started photography, and those things didn't take off. And like what you were just saying right now, people that were carrying the load, I was carrying inventory, I was carrying a website. Luckily, I had you, and you were carrying WordPress for me, so I didn't have a monthly payment.
Oh, yeah?
So I kind of piggybacked on you for that monthly payment. But I had inventory, and it wasn't moving. And so, yeah, I could see a bunch of people that get stuck into that, where they want to make it work, but it's not working.
For sure.
I feel like when you start a business, people get lost into, I need an LLC, I need a bank account, I need a website, I need business cards, I need t-shirts with my business name on it. There's so many different ways that I feel that you can get stuck in to try to create a business, but it's not actually a business. A business is something that's generating revenue.
For sure.
And so what would you say is probably one of the biggest and most, I guess, crucial thing that you guys did to get the business going?
So if you're starting a business, I think the most important thing is finding the customer.
Okay.
And everything else comes second.
Yeah.
So I don't think you necessarily need to create that LLC. I don't think you need to create that business card. I think what you need to first and foremost do is find that customer. So how we found that customer is we would create local profiles on Google, like Google My Business. We would create local profiles. So for example, our name is Garment Decor, but we would create on Google Hollywood screen printing, Santa Barbara screen printing, Orange County screen printing, Inland Empire screen printing. The idea was that by putting and creating this profile on Google, when somebody types in t-shirt printing near me, any one of those local profiles that we built, we would pop up, we would get the call, and then we would quote the project.
Huh, how crazy, man.
So that was one of the biggest things that we did at an early stage to find that customer and how to close more deals, was create local Google profiles in order to get the people who were searching up t-shirt printing near me or screen printing near me.
Got it. What was your bread and butter back in the day? What did you start off with? Screen printing, embroidery? You do DTG now. What got you started?
So it was screen printing, but most people, they don't know the nuances of the different printing methods. That's more of like a sophisticated customer.
Right.
So what we simply went after was t-shirt printing.
Got it.
Right? Or custom t-shirts or wholesale t-shirt printing or bulk t-shirt printing. Essentially, people are looking up that more so than screen printing, embroidery, DTG printing.
Oh,
right?
Okay, I understand.
So
it's more of a broader keyword for people to try to.
Correct.
That makes sense. How did you buy your first machinery?
So the first machine that we bought was on Craigslist. It was a $500 machine. It's called a 4-color one station. You can print 4 colors at a time. You can print 4 colors at a time. And there was one station, so you can load one t-shirt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that was our first machine. And we did a couple of orders. We landed a big customer called HD Supply, where they were placing 1,000-piece t-shirt orders. I think at the time when we were in the garage, we got a 3,000-piece t-shirt order.
Whoa.
Doing it one t-shirt at a time. It took us about 5 days to do it.
Wow.
And we thought to ourselves, naturally, like, man, this took a long time. What could we do to make it faster?
How do we speed it up?
How could we speed it up? So we went on Craigslist, and instead of it being a 4-color one station, we bought a 6-color 6 station. So now we could load 6 t-shirts at a time. And so when we got that order the second time, it went from taking 5 days to 2 days.
Wow.
And then after we got that order, naturally the next question is how could we have made that faster? How could we have done that faster? Right. Because we were getting 1 order, 2 order, 3 orders. So if it took us 5 days to do 1 order, our backlog would become backlogged, right?
Sure, yeah.
So that's basically how we were growing our business. We were doing these orders. How could we do these orders faster? Buying the machines, and we just kept buying more machines and kept buying more machines in order to improve the quality and improve the speed.
How were you moving space to space? Because you went into your first shop. I think your first shop was on Grand, right next to the 71, right?
Yeah.
That was your guys' first warehouse?
Yep.
And then you guys moved into another warehouse that was maybe a couple blocks inward toward the 71. How did you make that jump from that first warehouse to the larger warehouse?
So we were getting these big t-shirt orders in our mom's garage, and we were folding the t-shirts out in front of the lawn, and our neighbors started complaining, saying these busters are running the business out of the garage. And
you're kidding.
I think where we were at, that was illegal. So we had the city come to our mom's garage and say, hey, we're going to cite you unless you do something about it. So we then ended up moving from our mom's garage into our first warehouse, which was 2,100 square feet. I think we were 19 at the time or 20 at the time with our first warehouse. And so we moved our equipment into our first warehouse. And within that first warehouse, we also invested into our first automatic screen printing machine. So where that 3,000 piece order, where it maybe took 5 days to do, we bought a machine to bring that down to about 2 days, where with an automatic screen printing machine, you can do that in an 8-hour shift. So we moved warehouses, we bought automatic screen printing equipment, and continued to elevate our business from there.
Wow, man, that's crazy. How important is winning to you? Like the word win, how important is that word to you in business?
I like to look at it like in business, it's more like, for me, when you said the word winning, my mind shifted. It was like, I don't know if it's necessarily about winning, but more so about making money.
Yeah.
So I think it's more like, hey, how important is making money
Yeah.
to you? And making money is very important.
Yeah.
Right. And we constantly want to make more of it. And so
I do want to get into that topic of discussion, by the way, because you were the one to put me on into a Reddit community that was called Fire.
Yeah.
And when I found that community, things clicked in my head.
Yeah.
But I want to get into that a little bit later. I want to continue on with the entrepreneurship and the rise of Garment Decor.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about Fire and finances and things like that a little bit later.
Cool.
But the actual term winning, I feel, is somewhat
What does it mean
necessary.
to you? What does it mean to you?
I think it's a necessity. I think it's a necessity to get to the next stage, because without winning, you're going to be stagnant. You're going to be stuck. And if I don't win, let's say, for example, now, if I don't win an offer or if I don't win a listing, it's if I'm going to eat or if I'm not going to eat.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So I think the word winning is truly important to an entrepreneur, because that's the only way you're going to be able to elevate, is if you're able to win. But when you got that notice, like, how did you and your brother feel? Were you guys just devastated, or were you guys thinking like, oh, you know what? I get it. It makes sense. Let's get our own spot. Was it quick decisions that you guys were making?
That. It was, okay, that makes sense. We are being an eyesore to our neighbors. Let's get the next spot. Let's keep growing and let's keep this thing pushing. So it was quick. Found our next spot probably within a couple of days. Moved in probably within a week to 2 weeks. And it was just on to the next.
If a business owner is trying to get started and there was maybe a skill set that you would recommend out of these couple of things that I'm going to name, what would you say is probably the best? Would you say it's speedness or being rapid in decision making? Or would you say something along the lines of quality? Like, which skill set is better to have between those two?
I think rapid decision making.
Right.
So like, don't dwell on the thought process. Don't dwell on like which idea is better. It's rapid decision making. Do it and figure out the rest later.
Dang, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. You just said that, and the reason why I'm saying is because a lot of the people that I follow, like, I like Grant Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of these real estate investors like Ryan Pineda, Brian Davila, a bunch of these people. Man, they all say similar stuff, dude. It's not a secret. It's, if you have an opportunity, make the jump, make the leap, and figure it out later.
For sure.
Man, that's probably one of the biggest things, at least for me too. Like, you guys were like my first entry into real estate. You and your brother were, you guys gave me a break. And you guys gave me the opportunity to help you guys find that Montclair property. Well, I didn't find it, but I introduced the person that helped you guys buy it. I think you guys found it. And man, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was already involved in a deal while I was getting licensed. And I owe it to you, my guy. That
was right when you were getting into it.
I was getting licensed. I wasn't even licensed yet.
Got it.
And I introduced you guys to JP.
Could you have done if you were licensed? Could you have done what JP did for us?
Not without help.
Not
without help.
For sure.
Because even JP needed help.
Got it.
Because there was 3 agents involved, at least in the buyer side.
Got it.
There was me, JP, and that commercial guy that also helped you.
Got it.
Yeah, man, I feel like that you guys were my big break, and you guys were like, oh, I see the money.
Mm-hmm.
Even before I got licensed, like, oh, I see the money. I'm already going to get paid. And you guys, we were in escrow, and I got licensed when we were in escrow. Freaking crazy, man. Crazy. And I got licensed, and then the deal closed. And yeah, but going back to just jumping in and doing it and figuring it out later.
Real estate, huh?
That was my first paycheck.
Cool.
Yeah. You and your family were my first paycheck in real estate.
That's cool.
Yeah, man, it's a true blessing. You guys helped me. I mean, I think it was although the amount wasn't life-changing, but it was the concept.
Yeah.
And me seeing the theory of becoming a real estate agent and actually doing a deal, someone purchasing a property of some sort, and me getting paid through it, the theory was there. And I saw it, and I got a taste of it. I fucking framed it. And I still have that check to this day. I've been holding on to all my checks, and I think the idea of it is like maybe once I get to 200, 300 checks, I'm going to frame it on the wall.
Oh, yeah?
It's just going to be a frame of all the entire checks that I've been through my career.
I like that. That's pretty
and
cool.
you guys would get, yours is going to be the middle because it was the start.
For sure. And so what we're talking about here is because we went from our mom's garage to our first warehouse, from our first warehouse to our second warehouse where we were renting.
Right,
and then we bought a building. And so for anybody watching, when we bought that building, that's how Jesse got his first commission check.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Yeah.
How insane, dude. Yeah. Thanks for giving that context, by the way, because I don't think people would have understood
for sure.
the actual concept. When you guys were renting and you guys were dealing with the monthly payment, was it a hassle dealing with that, or did it come easy to be able to pay the rent at your guys' warehouse? Were you guys producing enough to where you guys were profiting every month? Or were there months where it was like, oh shit, we're cutting it tight?
No, when you typically move into a new warehouse, you have that sudden burst of expenses.
Right.
So maybe for a month or two, but usually before you're moving into a warehouse, you are already planning for that jump in expense months prior. So you should have 6 months worth of history or a year's worth of history of the business cash flowing enough to be able to support this new business or to support this new warehouse, right? So each time we went into the new warehouse or to a new building, it was because for the previous 6 months or the previous year, there was enough cash flow in the business to support it.
Have you ever cried because things weren't going right or things weren't going the way you wanted in your business?
Yeah, for sure, many times.
I have too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, or one of the, I guess, topics that a bunch of people don't put on blast, because running a business is not easy.
Yeah.
It's for sure, borderline mind fucking, but at the same time, it could be the biggest payoff that you've ever done.
For sure.
And so
I think there's been many periods of like highs, and there's been many periods of lows.
Yeah. How do you stay stable? How do you stay in the middle?
I think I've gotten numb to it, so I try not to get high, and I try not to get low anymore.
Got it.
So I don't let the highs bring a euphoria, and I don't let the lows bring a sadness. I just stay very mellow, and that's how I've chosen to live my life now. It's stay very mellow, and as long as you're putting your best foot forward, it is what it is. So we were selling face masks. Remember when we were selling face masks?
I remember that. That was a huge, crazy.
We had a video that went viral. It got about 100 million views on Facebook. And we were selling a ton of freaking face masks. Mm-hmm. A ton of face masks.
Remember the Etsy shops?
Yeah. And the high was impeccable.
Next thing you know,
it popped.
Crazy.
And so the high was impeccable. And then about 3 weeks later, Facebook shut our ad account down. And that was a low, man. I have a video on my phone of me crying.
You're kidding.
Like, dude, this was life-changing. I know. It's all gone.
Crazy, man.
But there's many moments of highs and lows for sure.
How'd you stay grounded? Like, I know you have to let it out and you have to, deal with your emotions, but how do you look past that and just keep moving forward? What holds you?
It's a high and low, but it doesn't get, it's not so, like, business isn't so deep. It doesn't, what happens in business, in my business. So for example, if I was crying, it's very surface level.
Got it.
It's nothing that, it doesn't affect me in any sort of deep way. It's surface level. You let out a couple, you cry, you let out the tears, and then the tears dry up, and then
you got to keep moving on to the next thing, right?
Sure.
I think as an entrepreneur, you always have to be thinking about the next thing, because you started with screen printing, but throughout the different warehouses that you started moving into, you started getting into different things. You got an embroidery department. You started introducing different ways of customizing apparel, right?
For sure.
How important to you is the continuous growth of someone, like how did you continue to elevate and I guess evolve as an individual and as a business?
So we started with screen printing, right? And then businesses can grow vertically or horizontally.
Right.
So we grew our business by offering additional services within apparel decoration. So if somebody is looking to make custom t-shirts, there's many different ways to customize t-shirts, and we chose to grow that way.
Got it.
So when a customer calls in and says, "Hey, I want to customize t-shirts," we just started to offer more services. Screen printing being one of them, embroidery being another, and we just offered more services for customers to be able to customize their t-shirts, and that's how we continue to grow the business as we did over the course of the last 10 to 14 years.
All right, I want to get into a little bit of the finances because you're probably one of the few people that I know that are very disciplined with finances. And I think you've taught me how to be disciplined with my finances, at least in the beginning. I mean, now I kind of went a little bit wild with things that I like, and my palate has grown. But I think in the beginning, being able to be frugal and being able to, I guess, be disciplined with your bank account and not see the number as the number in your bank account as a number to be able to spend, but more so to be able to invest and to be able to grow. I want to get into that conversation because I feel like to this day, you could be riding around in a supercar, but yet you decide to still drive a Honda. And it's kind of like that famous story of Jeff Bezos where he's a billionaire and he's driving around a Honda Accord or some shit like that. But how important is having that frugal lifestyle and being able to be disciplined with your money?
I think it starts with the first business of opening up a shop and not making any money and not being able to, obviously we had our parents, right? So we had that backbone to be able to support us, but being 18 and trying to start our own business, we weren't making any money. And so I think the frugalness comes from the first 6 months of starting and running our business. We weren't making any money.
Got it.
And there's always that doubt, or there's always that thought that life can very easily get back to that.
Sure.
And so it's sort of become ingrained in my brother and I that living life frugal is the way to make sure that not only are you successful, but you're successful for a long time. And growing up, also shiny things doesn't make me too excited. A lot of my friends are into cars, and that I don't really care about that type of stuff. So I think being frugal is important for me because I want to be successful for a long time, not a short time.
But the word frugal, I think I first found out that word in a fire community that you put me in.
For those of you put me in that.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you put me onto fire.
I don't remember. I remember having conversations in COVID with you that lasted 2 hours long, and we got into the actual like nitty gritty things about my finances. And I don't think I told you, or maybe I did, but I actually posted in that fire group my financial situation, and I exposed myself. Where I was a homeowner, I was making this amount of money every month, I had this amount of debt, this was going on, this was my sort of lifestyle. And every single comment, those 19 comments on it, every single comment was saying, "You're stupid, what are you doing? You're young, you could still flip it around." Some were encouraging, some were very, man, when I posted that and I read the comments, and the idea of it was to check myself.
For sure.
And I guess in that, I got emotional. I was like, damn, dude, I cried. And I was like, damn, dude, I'm not doing this right. But this is coming from a perspective of this FIRE community. And FIRE is financially independent, retire early. So it's a specific community that is very disciplined. And the idea of that community is to teach and I guess learn about how to become financially stable and have your assets pay for your monthly income so that way you can retire early. And some of the people in there do it very frugally, where maybe they're living out of an RV as low as the low, or maybe they're living in a mansion and they've found a way to create financial freedom for themselves. And I think that was an important perspective in my life, where it was a financial check on stop buying stupid shit, stop buying things, and start investing in yourself. That was probably the number one thing. Invest in yourself so you can accumulate the skills to be able to either increase your income or purchase assets that are going to pay for your actual monthly debts. But yeah, I didn't know I was the one that introduced that to you.
I think you introduced it to me.
Yeah.
So your first question was frugal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've just always been frugal, but when I learned about the FIRE community through through Reddit,
Yeah.
I think it gave a meaning to why I'm being frugal.
Right.
It gave a new perspective on not only what it means to be frugal, but why you want to be frugal if you hope to one day retire earlier.
Right.
So FIRE, right, is financially independent, retire earlier. If you have ambitions or goals of retiring earlier, this community gives you a game plan, gives you a path to follow to be able to do that, right? So being frugal, learning about this community, it gave a whole new meaning to why you should be frugal, what it means to be frugal, and how it can pay off if you plan to retire earlier.
Yeah.
So I think from 2020 onwards, I continue to be frugal because there is this path that I'm on through the FIRE community of one day retiring earlier. And in order to do that, you need to be a bit frugal.
Do you have a set number or a set age that you want to retire?
I don't have a set number of when I want to retire, but the path that I'm on right now is, and I share this with my friends, it's save money every single day. So what I do is I use Robinhood, and Robinhood allows you to put away savings on a daily basis.
Right.
You could do it on a daily basis. You can do it on a weekly basis. You can do it on a monthly basis. I do it on a daily basis, and I tell myself, and I save $100 a day because in the future, when I retire,
Damn, dude, you're still doing that.
yeah, I'm still doing that.
Are you still putting it in a S&P 500?
Yeah.
Wow.
And VU. So I put away $100 a day because in the future, when I retire early, hopefully, I want to be able to at least have $100 to be able to spend every single day. So the methodology behind my retiring early in my path is save what I would want to save every day. So that way in the future, I can take what I'm saving and have a comfortable lifestyle.
How crazy, man.
And so I continue to do $100 every single day, and I budget around that.
Wow. Insane, dude. I can't believe you're still doing that. I remember when you first started doing it, I was like, wow, like $100. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's not a little money.
Yeah.
Especially if it's every day, it's impactful. It's $700 a week.
Yeah. So that's where you live a little bit more frugal, right?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't save that, you might feel like otherwise you could spend, right? You can go out to eat a lot more often. You could maybe afford that car payment, so on and so forth. But when you take that away, you live more frugally because the savings comes first, the spending comes second.
Where did you learn finances? Who taught you how to maneuver your guys' bank accounts, your guys' personal finances, and the business finances?
I think it started so small. It started, whether it was from the t-shirt shop or the screen printing business started in our mom's garage. It's almost like, for me, it feels kind of like common sense. Like if you have $10 in your bank account, I'm just using, it's just an easy, $100 in your bank account, right? We just watched it grow, and we watched our expenses. We weren't spending a lot of money at the time. We also weren't making a lot of money at the time. So it was very easy to manage. And because we took care of the pennies, the dollars took care of themselves as our business grew. So, I don't know if I have any sort of like how we did it. It was just take care of the penny so the dollars can take care of themselves.
I think to answer it, I think you guys just learned as time went on.
Exactly.
Right? I think there isn't really a blueprint of how to deal with your personal finances. There's a bunch of people online that try to, I guess, help you and maneuver a way to try to sell a service or product, right? Because I think a lot of like finance gurus try to throw out a bunch of products, and that's how they make a living. My personal finance education came from watching you and your brother, seeing how you guys were living and seeing how you guys didn't change the lifestyle, even though you guys were killing it with income and you guys were making whatever it was, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $1 million a month, whatever it was. You guys' lifestyle didn't change. And I think that's important. Once you start seeing the money, it's important to not change the lifestyle.
So in the FIRE community, one of the words that they use is lifestyle creep, that as you earn more income in your career, people often will have this lifestyle creep where as they earn more money, they spend more money. So they aren't technically saving more as their income grows. So I think the FIRE community taught me in the last 4 years, right, is as your income grows, make sure that your savings grow.
Right.
Because oftentimes the lifestyle will creep in, you'll spend more money, but the savings rate doesn't. So if you're going to make more money, make sure you save more money than before. So if you were saving $1,000, make sure as your income grows, you begin to save $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month, so on and so forth.
If someone has a fixed income and is working a regular 9 to 5 and they're making 80 grand a year, and out of the money that they're making, they're probably seeing majority of it leave their account and they're not left with many savings. What's one thing that you would either communicate or educate to that person to try to get on the same game as what you're doing? What would be a tip that you would tell that person to try to do to try to shift their personal finance game?
Start with $250 a month. And save that consistently. But rather than save $250 a month, I think just break that down, save
a couple bucks a day, whatever it is, right?
Maybe so let's say $200 a month. Rather than saving $200 a month, save $50 a week. And let that number, watch that number come out of your bank account. Right? And make sure that you can see it coming out of your bank account, you can feel it coming out of your bank account, and make that a priority. And so if it's tough for you to save right now on a fixed income at 80 grand, well, just start small and then just build off small wins. And so start with $200 a month and let that build. So I think the other thing here too is that the goal has to be if you want to retire earlier.
Right.
So if you want to retire earlier, the way to do it is to save over 30 years or to save over 25 years, right? And so $200 a month over 25 years becomes a lot. And so if the idea is to retire early, you need to save something and start that piggy bank now and let that grow over 30 years, because most people, according to the FIRE community, they wait until it's too late. And so the idea is start as early as possible, and it doesn't matter the number, but more so that you're starting early. That way, after 30 years, it compounds to become something great. And there's there's calculators that have you ever used a savings calculator, a compound savings calculator?
I think I have, yeah.
And so
not recently, but I have.
There's a compound savings calculator that you can use on Google that will show you, if I save $200 a month, what will this be after 30 years?
Sure.
And it's crazy.
Yeah. Especially if it's invested, right?
Correct.
Especially if it's invested in real estate, stock market. I don't know about Bitcoin because it's so volatile, but I think the average return is 7 or 8% of the stock market.
Yeah. So you can put in this compound savings calculator. If I save $200 every month with a 7% on average yearly return, what that number will be after 20, 30, 40 years. And even on $200 a month, when you look at after 30 years what that number will be, you'll be like, oh man, I can retire off that. And so that was the big eye opener for me, was first joining that FIRE community, learning about this path that people are on and how they save, and then looking at this savings calculator and saying, if I save this much every month, this is what it will become. It helped to visualize this path, right? I don't want to have to think every single day, what do I need to do? I just want the path laid out for me, and I'm just going to follow it.
Wow.
It reminds me of if I'm on a hike and that's the top of the hike, just tell me where I need to walk. Give me the shortest path possible. I'll put my head down and I'll just walk that straight path. And so that compound savings calculator and that FIRE subreddit gave me that path to allow me to put my head down and walk straight.
How crazy, man. I feel like people don't even want to get onto the path. That's why a lot of their finances are held back, because they don't want to follow the path, because the path is not easy. The path could be difficult. It could be a lot of uphill. It could be no water breaks. It could be difficult. And I think a lot of the reason why some people don't like to start the saving journey is because they don't want to check themselves. Maybe that's another reason. Because, I mean, when I first checked myself, it was kind of an emotional roller coaster. Because, I mean,
what does check yourself mean?
Criticism to help you get to the next level. Real, actual facts to get you to the next level. I don't think people want to hear it. I mean, it took me like a year or two to actually realize that I needed to check myself.
So what did you have to cut back when you say check yourself? What in that, when you posted your situation on Reddit, what were some glaring things that you had to cut back that you at the time didn't realize that you had to cut back?
I think the first thing was food, eating out.
Okay.
That was the number one thing that was at the top of my budget, because every month I would use Mint, and Mint would give you a monthly recap of where your money went, and a big chunk of that pie was restaurants.
Got it.
So I was eating out way too much. And the shift that I had to make, the lifestyle shift that I had to make was, hey, we're not going to be going to BJ's, going to Yard House, going over here. Let's tone it down, and we're going to start cooking at home.
For sure.
And that's when, at the time, I think I got the grill that you set on fire that was in the backyard, and we started grilling at home. I started, getting some steaks, and we would share it with the family. And seeing that, I was able to save, I think it was $400 or $500 a month.
Got
on
it.
just eating out. Just a simple lifestyle change of not going to In-N-Out, going to Yard House, going to this, strictly cooking at home. Maybe once a week, go enjoy a meal out.
Got it.
Has shifted the lifestyle for me. It was a small little change, but it made the biggest difference.
For sure. I wanted to end on a high note here. The biggest takeaway for me was, one, the FIRE community. Go on Reddit, download the Reddit app.
Yeah.
Join the FIRE community.
Yeah.
Learn what it means to be financially independent and retire earlier. It will help you join this path of what exactly you need to do in order to retire early, if that is within your plan.
Sure.
The other thing I want to end with here is look up a compound savings calculator and find and determine what savings amount you can save each month, and use an online compound savings calculator to figure out what that would be 30 years from now, to let that inspire you, and then follow that path up this mountain towards saving and retiring early. And I think that was the biggest life lesson for me in the last few years, and what I try to preach to my friends, to save money retire early and take calculated chances.
If people wanted to find you and have a conversation with you or learn more about Garment Decor, where could they go online? How do they find you?
So my Instagram is Chef Devyn, Devyn, Chef Devyn. Our company Instagram is Garment Decor, and send me a message. We'll chat it up, and we'll go from there.
Nice, man.
Thank you, Jesse.
Hey, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it, bro.